Yeah. Okay, we're already live. They can hear
All
you.
right.
But here we go. All right. Hey everyone, welcome to another Webflow workshop. I am your host Nelson. Thank you for joining me this week. This is episode 130. So this is another special stream. And at the end of every quarter, what we do is we get our CEO, Vlad Magdalin, on the stream to answer your questions live. So you can answer anything about the past of Webflow, the current state of Webflow, and of course the future of Webflow. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things that we've done in the past quarter, and a lot of things that we are looking towards to launching. And without further ado, let's get the man up in here. So here we go. Hey, Vlad.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
All right, good, good, good. So we have a lot of cool friends, a lot of community members in the live chat room right now. So thank you for joining us live. And yeah, how do you feel about this quarter?
What's my favorite denomination of coin? That's your first dad joke, Mariah. Uh, it was actually a really, really great one. We have a lot of stuff that's happening. I'm sure many of you have seen some tease tweets from various people about CSS Grid and
Oh yeah.
e-commerce and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it's been very, very busy. And we just had our team retreat, which was amazing. So it was a lot of things to cap off the end of summer. So it
Yeah.
was. I think looking back over the last 6 years, it's one of our most exciting and most busy internally quarters if we add everything up.
Yeah, yeah. I
But that's
mean,
probably because we have the most people and the most projects and the most awesomeness
yeah,
happening here. So
yeah. Not enough awesomeness. We can always go for more, right?
that's true. Actually, I think there is an awesomeness limit at some point. I saw it on Wikipedia once. We'll have to keep track of.
Oh, okay.
We'll
All
have to
right.
keep track of them.
All right. So, if you have a question and you want to ask it live and get it answered, go ahead
Oh, I
and
have a question. How do
okay.
you do it, Nelson?
I don't know. I like.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, okay, put me on the spot. How do I do it? I click broadcast and I fake it till I become it. So
So just
I'll
like the rest of us.
yeah, just like the rest of us. I mean, I'll be honest. Before every stream, I have a nervous toilet break because I'm like, I can't. Okay, we're about to go live. No, I gotta go to the bathroom.
It's the nervousness never stops. Let me
Yeah,
tell you that. I've been
yeah.
doing this for many years, and I'm very nervous right now. So
Okay, so we're in good
you just
company.
make it.
Let's be nervous together. Virtual hug. There we go. All right. So if you have a
That worked.
question, huh?
That worked.
Oh, cool. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the Crowdcast chat room. There is a link where it says "Ask a question." If your question has already been asked, scroll through those questions, and if those one is similar than yours to yours, go ahead and upvote it rather than asking it again. All right, so we can get as many questions as we can answered during this stream. But before we get into the questions, let's just go quickly through some of the big, the big things that are in development. So let's first talk about CSS Grid inside of Webflow. So your thoughts on that, and anything that's surprising you right now?
My thoughts on that. Should come prepared. So I mean, for people that aren't aware, Grid is. I don't think we're calling it CSS Grid. We're just calling it Webflow Grid or Grid in Webflow.
Yeah.
But it's essentially a new technology that has been shipped in most, actually all popular browsers as of about a year ago, and it finally brings like real grid, like graphic design grid functionality to browsers. Or before we had to fake a lot of that stuff with CSS floats and some stuff with Flexbox.
Yeah.
Grid really brings this like concept of uh, direct manipulation in 2 dimensions, and the kinds of layouts that are possible with Grid are just remind me of poster design and in throughout the best examples of graphic design in the last 100 years,
Yeah.
magazine design, etc. So it's finally the technology in browsers is caught up, to where it's no longer a hack on top of a hack to build with like true two-dimensional grids. And we're super excited to make that completely visual. We're surfacing most of that complexity in a visual tool. And grid is actually really complicated. Like I would say maybe a single-digit percentage of developers, like web developers, people who are like really familiar with CSS, have gotten to the point where they are really good with it. Like there's $500 classes on just how to understand grid semantics and syntax. So I think I'm super excited about that, especially seeing some of the examples that people have already built with like the alpha version. It's incredible. Like it starts to move Webflow more into the realm of what we call direct manipulation, where you're directly kind of tactile changing stuff on the canvas versus having to go on the sidebar. Even though you still have the functionality of like very advanced grid modes, like
that's one of the things that excited me the most, because like when I'm trying to break down a site and build it without columns and just saying, okay, this is what I'm going to flex, I'm going to use horizontal or vertical, and so I would always be guessing in my head and using the styles panel only because there's no really on canvas controls for flex. And when the team showed on canvas controls, I was like, are you kidding me? And then now you have like people like
you did one of these like
right. It was nuts. And like Brandon, one of our customer success team members, did a jumping Mario, and then Pablo got on that and did a running Mega Man and Link, and I'm just like, it's happening. It's finally happening. Direct manipulation, exactly what you want to see on the web, but still adhering to the fundamentals of HTML and CSS. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
So, and also Pablo Stanley, if you go to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/sketchtogether, he is doing a grid stream tonight. So if you want to see more of that awesomeness, go watch.
He's doing a great collaboration with the InVision Studio, like building stuff in InVision Studio, then porting it to Webflow. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's super awesome. Thank you, Pablo, for doing that. All right, so next big thing that's on everyone's mind, e-commerce. What is going on with the beta? What?
It is, so we've already started alpha with a couple users, well, not a couple, like a big handful of users. It's I think it's over 50. We're still getting a lot of the kinks ironed out, especially around checkout, which is the hardest part because it has the most technical complexity around what we call secure elements. Those are things like the credit card field, the postal code, and like the CVV value or whatever. Those are the things that have to be stylable, for commerce to feel like Webflow, but they also have to be ultra secure in that those credit card values never, like the website itself never has access to it for PCI compliance, which is the first time we've had to like go in that realm. So it's still, it's getting very close to beta. We're trying to get it out as soon as we can. We know that there are a lot of, seasonal considerations and constraints, and people are eager to start using it. So there's we just have to be like really careful in how quickly we roll it out, because our history with Webflow is we say that something is beta and then people start using it in production right away. And with something like e-commerce, it's particularly sensitive because people's money is involved. So we have to be really careful. We're still trying to move as fast as we can, and we're not saying that we're going to get it to 100% perfection. We're definitely going for but trying to deliver as much value to people as quickly as possible, using this sort of mantra of we have this mantra internally of moving uncomfortably fast, and it sort of goes back to the early days of Webflow, where we didn't want to launch without a CMS because we thought like there isn't enough without a CMS for people to really get enough value out of the product, that they'd be willing to pay for it, especially whatever it was, $20 a month at that point. But we were forced to launch by our advisors, which is great because we didn't end up launching the CMS until like 2 years later, and 20 people later, and so much more complexity later. So the lesson we learned there was that it's better to not have like a perfect totally comprehensive product. For example, e-commerce isn't going to have Apple Pay on day one, right? But it's still a lot better than not having e-commerce at all. So we're trying to move as fast as we can, yet still kind of having this consideration of what if beta users start selling, funky pajamas for Christmas sales or whatever, and then it crashes.
Yeah. Totally understand. So yeah, it'll be out when it's out, and hopefully, as we always say, soon. It's coming soon.
And here's another big change we're making for e-commerce, which is our first big feature, where we're forming an entire team around it, where it's not going to be a launch and then it's sort of like doesn't change for a while.
Yeah.
E-commerce is going to be like a full-on every few weeks you'll start seeing improvements for many years to come. So there's so much we have to build that it's not something where we can kind of like release it and forget about it. And then so sort of like what we did with Interactions 1.0, it took us a year and change, maybe 2 years to get to 2.0.
Yeah.
That's what we should have done, was probably 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 before times, and then got to the same thing without the long wait. So
yeah. But there's as far as the features of e-commerce, the future features, you can check out those features, the list of them, at webflow.com/ecommerce.
You said check out those features.
Add those features to your cart. I'm not good with jokes, but scroll down to the bottom of that landing page and check out the future features that we have. The one that blew my mind was like, wait, what? We're going to somehow funnel transactions into Amazon fulfillment or something? That's nuts. So
yeah, that's a very that feature was very fulfilling to work on.
Number 3. All right, so let's move on to Pagination. So this is one that, do
you mean let's turn the page, or what do you?
Number 4. Oh God, I don't know if I can get through this. All right, so Pagination is something that our internal team really needs. It's for our blog and other things inside of our site. I know that a couple of my friends need it. A lot of the community members in Webflow need it. So what is the deal with Pagination?
We're working on it still. It is a very, in order to get it to work right, we had to like upend how our sort of the dynamic parts of our CMS work, because it wasn't, we have like this binding system, how you visually bind to something.
Yeah.
And then we had to make the choice between sort of like hacking Pagination so that it sort of works, but it's very limited and it's, barely stylable, or just doing it the right way. And it unfortunately has taken much longer, but we're still working on it. It's still a very active priority project, and it's going to. Our goal is to have it ready around the same time as e-commerce. We can't make any promises, but that's it's a parallel effort that's happening. So it's one of our top product priorities, and we know that functionality being missing is a very kind of sore point in the product. So. Yep. It'll be there.
Yeah. Especially is, like you said, it's needed for e-commerce. If people have like more than 20 items in their inventory that they want to sell, then you're gonna need pages, So,
yeah.
All right. And now going to the top wish list items. Any asset manager updates? So we've had updates to upload PDFs, Excel sheets, Word docs, etc. Anything about like folders inside of them, or?
Not actively right now, although we do have designs that were created that like we call it Asset Management 2.0. It's just a matter of prioritization. We are working on a project right now, actually, to integrate. It's sort of experimental, to be honest, but it's super exciting from what I've seen so far, to integrate external assets, like let's say from Figma, when you're creating like an icon or something like that, and having a live asset inside of Webflow that's linked to that asset in whatever your other tool is. So if you update an icon, in your Figma document, it'll automatically update, or when you like press a button to refresh, it'll pull like the latest vectors from without having to like delete the file, re-upload it, re-add it to the layout.
Oh, wow.
And that's just from what I've seen, looks amazing. It just really speeds up the workflow where you're creating illustrations or icons or things like that in tools like Figma, and getting it live on the canvas. But as far as I know, I don't know much. There's not much happening right now with the asset management sort of pipeline, because we're first focusing on some of the fundamentals, like we shipped file field, and then we're working on multi-image set for the CMS, which sort of sets the foundation. And there's a lot of work being done for like multi-language support in the CMS and on static pages to sort of prepare for that. So assets are kind of a key part in that. So for example, an image set, when you have an image set in the CMS, you'll need multiple images as like a collection, almost like a sub collection of a CMS item.
Yeah.
And then each of those need kind of like, they need to like think of an image as an asset, and we need to like, we're almost like changing the foundations of how we store assets in the background in order to support that field, which helps us get closer to better asset management in the UI. But it also has implications on like multi-language, because every image needs like an alt tag or a description or a caption that needs to be prepared in multiple languages, right? So all these things are sort of like intertwined together, which makes it even harder to think about. Like, you don't just say, okay, multi-language is like a feature, right? It's almost like a platform capability that every single plugin and module and block has to be aware of. So it takes a while to get these things right.
Wow, it bigger than I actually thought. I was just thinking, just a UI refresh with folders. But now that you mentioned that it's also touching the multi-language and also CMS items, I'm like, oh, well, okay, now I understand. And you've already touched on the two other things that are big on the wish list, is multi-language and CMS items, and I'm guessing those two things are also being prioritized because e-commerce, because if people want to sell things, they want to have multiple images for like a sweatshirt or like a bike or something that they're selling. They want to have multiple pictures so they can
correct. Well, we already have there's a couple different sort of vectors there for e-commerce, because e-commerce is going to have at some point we're hoping at launch is going to have variant support, so that like you can have t-shirts of many different colors and many different sizes, shoes, even products like, I don't know, if you're selling a 3D printer or a couch that has like multiple colors or multiple textures or leather, suede, etc. So all those things are variants and variant sets, and there's like a lot of complexity there in dealing with like master products. When you change the price of that thing, you have to sort of like flow down. It's almost like breakpoints, flow down to variants, unless they have an override, in which case like just certain colors have whatever. So there's a lot of complexity there, and mix that with multi-language, because each of those need
my god,
like color names, etc. So you're probably not going to see like a full-on like everything is multi-language aware all at once. We're probably going to start with like just CMS items initially, then add on static items, then add on like more support across the board. So it's going to be like again, going with that principle of delivering incremental value, even though it feels like less at first. The fact that you get it sooner could be more valuable for some people, maybe not for everyone.
Yep, totally understand. And I think I saw in the chat room, Landon said, where is it? Yeah, come on, guys. That doesn't sound complicated at all. Get on it. Okay.
Yeah. We should just build it in Webflow.
Yeah.
Like Webflow generates good code. Let's just build.
There we go.
Drop some multi-language together, right?
Awesome. All right. So last thing on the top of the wish list is user login and membership registration. The last note on that, nice mug. The last note on that is that we are currently in development of that.
Yes. I'm super excited about that one, because it moves us closer and closer to being able to create like more robust types of applications. But to be perfectly honest, it's going to be a while. Like we're going to start with like the most kind of pressing use case is customer management for e-commerce. So I think that's going to be the first step where, you know, customers can log in, track their orders, etc. And that sets up the infrastructure for, you know, user management and like how you authenticate and like designing the login page and designing sort of the login state. And then over time, we're going to add more and more functionality to where you'll be able to let's say style a dynamic list or homepage based on the context of the current logged in user and their previous behaviors, etc. So there's a lot there, but we're like very actively like in the design and sort of like prototyping phase of that.
Okay. All right. So there's your news for all the upcoming things that most people have voted for. If you want to vote for something or you want to suggest something that should be on the platform, go to wishlist.webflow.com. Okay. Upvote those things. All right. Now it's time for the questions. Ooh, we got 30 questions. Are you ready? All right. We'll start at the top. Here we go. Carlton Gordon III. Where do you see Webflow in the next 5 years?
Wow, that's such like an interview question. It's like I'm interviewing for a job. Well, I think I shared this before on the last stream. Sort of this thought that I fully believe that Webflow has probably reached maybe some single-digit percentage of our potential. So we've maybe built like 5% of what we want to build.
So 10%.
No, we're not even close to 10%. I think we're even lower now than the last stream, just because a lot more, like we realized that it could do so much more. Yeah. So, especially after seeing some of these like, grid-based sort of layouts or whatever, you can start to see that people are just taking Webflow to
making 8-bit games.
Yeah,
we're gonna get into game development.
Right, exactly. Who knows? So in 5 years, it's hard to say. I mean, we definitely want to deliver all the major use cases of what you would expect in a web design and publishing platform. So e-commerce will definitely be robust at that point, and feature parity with any other solution that you might find, plus more. Content management would be next level, like basically everything that you might get in WordPress, Contentful, Prismic, etc. You just add up all those things, and that functionality will be there. Like a lot of table stake stuff we don't even have now, like post scheduling, and like really complex collaboration modes and etc. We will definitely be, I think, kind of world-class or leaders at creating multi-language experiences. Like I think we're treating it as a foundational, like first-class citizen across the entire platform, not just a tack on. And you can see that with a lot of other products where it was just added on after the fact. For example, Shopify, you have to create a new store if you want multiple languages, or you go to this kind of third-party platform to translate strings for you. Yeah. So all those things will definitely be there. I think my co-founder, one of our co-founders, Bryant, predicted that in 5 years or even less that the majority of marketing sites are going to be built with Webflow. I fully believe that. Like, there's just no reason why that shouldn't be the case. It's just like wasting front-end engineering time. Like those engineers should be working on like more complex product work, making products better, rather than getting specs from some designer and then like translating them to HTML and CSS and PHP or whatever it is. Yeah. So we will definitely be kind of at the I hope the market leader in like web design and publishing. But there's also the thing that is super exciting about that is what we talked about last time is the entire extension platform that we're working towards, where Webflow will become the vast majority of code that's written for Webflow is going to be written by the community of developers, not by people who are employed by Webflow. So there's going to be I can't even imagine how many things will be around the platform, right? Yeah. That will become visually accessible. Like imagine something, I don't know, super fringe, like a 3D model, sort of like where you can drop in a 3D model into this component that you can drop on your homepage, and then when you like move your mouse, that thing rotates or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe Webflow might not build something like that, but a plugin developer might.
Yeah.
And it'd be completely like, you won't see a gray box in Webflow. You'll see like the actual component. And then that'll be, everything will be kind of like CMS enabled if you have dynamic data. And there's probably going to be like thousands, if not tens of thousands of these like fringe, or popular plugins.
Nice.
And then we'll start, kind of with like user systems, and we'll start to move way up the kind of complexity ladder, I guess, where people will be creating like full-on applications, like things that you would create in Ruby on Rails, right? Like you'll be able to build an Airbnb in Webflow, and like validate entire products, and create like ways for users to log in and kind of manage their, submit content. And there will be visual workflows for backend logic. So, when I submit a form, I want like all this stuff to happen, and you'll be able to drag and drop that logic versus, trying to like set up a cloud function or integrate to some third party.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 5 years is a long time from now. This is like, it would be double the lifetime of Webflow as a product.
That's true.
Maybe we'll pivot to flying cars, but, that's less exciting to me, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we can start a Webflow University on Mars. There we go.
Yeah.
It's just Mars. Yeah. Whatever. All right. Good question, Carlton. Let's go to the next one. 10 votes. Andrew, will there be a difference in the price of hosting for sites that utilize e-commerce functions? That's a big one. This is a big question.
We don't know for sure yet, but we're doing a lot of like pricing surveys, a lot of market analysis. Most services like Squarespace, etc., end up having like separate plans for commerce that's based on volume, users, products, like many different factors.
Yeah.
So I think we're gravitating towards that just based on kind of the value that Webflow e-commerce will provide, but we don't know yet. So we don't know if it's it'll most likely not be just available on the regular CMS plan, but we'll probably create like similarly accessible commerce plans that are focused on commerce, and include all of the CMS functionality. Yeah. So we don't know yet exactly, to be honest. It's still kind of in the reason we're doing alpha, and the reason we're kind of doing all the price sensitivity surveys now is to make sure that we actually optimize the chance of success of this product, because like the worst thing we can do is launch it early, then not have that contribute enough revenue so that we can like put in more money into research and development, and then have the product suffer. So we have to, because we operate like a small business, we don't operate like a venture funded company. We have to be very thoughtful around like the investment that we put into to products, because it takes years to develop this stuff, which you have to actually put down up front, because we haven't collected any revenue from e-commerce, and it's not going to be an immediate thing. Yeah. So we have to be like really, really thoughtful about that, which sometimes means, it feels like it's, especially for non-top tier countries, it feels like the pricing is not accessible. But we're always thinking about that of like, how do we maximize Webflow's impact for the world, by also making sure that we are able to fund our operations, and make sure that people don't freak out when they think that Webflow is going to run out of money or something like that. Like we get that all the time. Like, what if Webflow goes away tomorrow? Like that's never going to happen. We're a very stable business, but people think that all the time. And the lower you price your product, honestly, the more people have that perception. because it's we have like many startups, for example, that switched their entire marketing team to Webflow, but they're paying, like $50 a month or something like that. And their main concern for us is, hey, what if you disappear the next day? Like, it doesn't seem like you're actually, we're paying you enough for what we actually get, because they go from 3 engineers and like a hosting stack on AWS or something that's costing them $300,000 a year to like $50 a month. Right. Yeah. And same functionality, and they can ship faster. So something doesn't feel right there.
Yeah. It's too good to be true. Are you guys okay?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So right. Pricing is honestly the hardest thing to get right, because anything you do, somebody will say it's wrong.
Yep.
Somebody will be like very, very loud about it, and understandably so, right? I was one of those people for many different products. Yeah. Because I was a freelancer. I was trying to pay the bills every month, etc. So, it's something that we have to figure out.
Yep.
And we're probably going to get things wrong in some certain areas. But all we ask for is some grace in helping us experiment. Yes. Because what we're really optimizing for is not, like Bentleys or vacations to Saint-Tropez or whatever. We're optimizing for making sure that Webflow is a foundational company that's around like 50 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay, from Sai, creator of Crowdcast. Awesome. Thank you for being here, Sai. Will there be better ways to target nested classes instead of just combo classes?
So we already have nested class support inside of a rich text mode, where it's like you can say, all paragraphs inside of a when inside of some class that's attached to the rich text block. Honestly, we don't know, because the entire industry, a lot of the industry has been moving towards more component driven styling. And we're working on another product, which we haven't talked about much, that's very component oriented, that is going to specify styles on like an individual node level. But they're like, components are almost like symbols with a lot of overrides, where you can use, let's say you had a button or a hero section or something, where you would pull that in like as a symbol, but you want to override multiple parts. And if you're familiar with like Sketcher or Figma and things like that, they have that essentially built in. So the direction we're going in with components is that once you provide styles on a component, like those just come along for the ride with the component. You don't have to worry about like certain, like if I copy paste a component from one site to another, it's sort of like self-contained. Everything, those styles are attached to the component itself and every node that's underneath it. Which makes it really, really convenient, because you never have like CSS collisions or like cascade issues or specificity issues, which you might see in Webflow today. Like if you have a node with, something called like a class, a button, and then you have another class somewhere else on the page that you call, I don't know, box, and then that has a combo class of button. Already you have to sort of like contend with, well, this has 2 classes, that means it has more specificity, even though it's coming later. So all these things you have to think about, like as a, like the way that CSS works. So our goal is to move towards a model where you don't actually have to think about, you still get the reuse of not having to add classes everywhere, because you're essentially like reusing components from your style system, from your design system. But you don't really have to worry about kind of like carrying classes around. So it's very unlikely that in the short term we're going to have like nested class support, would be my guess, just based on the trends that I've been seeing. But we will have something that actually solves the same problem, I think, of like reusability and like being able to move fast quite soon. So like the beginning of next year.
Okay. All right. Inside. Great app. Thank you. All right. We already gave you a question, Sai. I'll get back to it. The next one, 3 upvotes from Ian. Can you give us an estimated date for e-commerce? Yes. For many of us, this is the jewel in the crown, and we anxiously await the answer. So,
what the question is, when is e-commerce shipping?
Yes.
I wish I knew.
Yeah, we're still in alpha, and
We're yeah, we're definitely in the like final phases, um, and like I mentioned, that the last part of getting kind of the Stripe integration to work the right way. Uh, if someone on this call can figure out how to make software ship predictably, you can win a Nobel Prize. And I want to hire you right now. So let me know. Send me an email. We can talk about it.
All right.
Here's the other way we can give you a predictable date, which nobody will like. We can say for sure it'll ship by next December 2019. Who's going to be happy with that though?
No one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe if we said that, we'd still find a way. Like that's how software works. You still find a way to ship it late. Because then you're thinking like, oh well, we have all this time, so we're going to add some scope and blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But we're trying to move as quickly as we can, and actually we've been cutting a lot of scope, which means we're building less stuff to make sure that we ship sooner. Which might mean that some of the use cases that you might really care about might not be in the first version.
True. All right. 2 upvotes from Russell. Is combining Mousemove interactions with the gyroscope inputs on the roadmap seems like a logical combination / solution for mobile devices. Yeah, that would be cool in IX2. We already have the mouse movement parallax.
Right.
What if gyroscope with your phone?
Yes. So there was some internal experiments recently where it's like just a little bit of code that makes that happen. We have this thing called 10% projects at Webflow where people, work on, whatever they want. I don't know if anyone here has seen the latest quick find feature, like where you can actually create a site completely with your keyboard. It's amazing. We should actually maybe have a workshop on that.
Oh yeah.
But that was a 10% project. And then we just had one recently that added effects to Interactions 2.0. So you can actually, instead of just changing color, you can change effects like blur and contrast, etc. I don't know if that's shipped yet or is about to ship. So this accelerometer input as an input instead of a mouse sounds like it could definitely fit into that bucket, like where people get really excited about it and they get it out there.
I can just imagine that old iPhone app, the beer drinking. You remember? No?
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. First use case, I'm going to try that.
Cut it out, Nelson. Cut it out. With those apps. Do you remember the flashlight one?
Yeah.
I think there was a man who made, I don't know, $100,000 in the span of 2 weeks, just selling a white screen app.
Oh my god. All right. Here we go. Russell. Oh, we already gave Russell. I already clicked on start answering. Okay, Russell. Is there going to be more support for exported Webflow websites? I understand your position around GDPR standards, but it would be a huge time saver to get a PHP script for forms, perhaps signing a legal waiver that releases Webflow from any possible ramifications. So I'm guessing like faster way to make forms work, and it's not tied to our servers.
Yeah, so a couple things are happening on export. We're going to be adding CMS exports soon. So you'll be able to export all of your, you can do it today with our API, but it's kind of a pain. You have to get a developer involved. But it'll be you can just download content and then re-import it if you want to like massage it externally or whatever. But you can also take it and go somewhere else. The thing with forms and actual working functionality is that it completely blows up the requirements of what we have to support after the fact, right? So even today, when Webflow exports a zip file and we give you the code, we already, even though we say we don't support it, we already deal with so many issues where people will say, my like Bluehost provider isn't like a kind of like serving this image fast enough or whatever. People associate our service with like what they run externally behind the scenes on whatever their provider is.
Yeah.
And that would just like probably increase by 1,000-fold if we said that here's like code that you can use to like capture form submissions. Because when you get backend development involved, all things go out the window. You have things like availability, like speed, etc. Even the server you deploy on, like some people deploy on PHP, some people want to deploy on Node, some people want to deploy on something completely different. Some people want static, like flat file hosting on Netlify or whatever, like Gatsby. There are so many different backend technologies that it's fundamentally impossible for us to say, now we're going to deliver like backend code for you that you can then reliably deliver on some sort of like, shared host without us getting the blame for it not working. Because most of the time, 99% of the time, it won't be that it doesn't work on Webflow. It just will be that something is misconfigured or whatever. So for us, it would be, I think, a very huge distraction and like an unfortunate use of resources, like of our team's time. And we'd have to hire a lot more people to support anything even remotely close to that. Even if we said there are hard requirements, like you have to run on, I don't know, DigitalOcean on a specific type of server and a specific type of database.
Yeah.
That just goes like everything around providing an end-to-end sort of hosted environment that just works goes out the window, because now you essentially become like a services company. We have to like provide support engineers and like people to be able to like log into environments and see what's wrong. We essentially would become kind of like a I think even WordPress doesn't do that. Like entire companies form around like trying to figure out how to host WordPress reliably. And they're actually a lot more expensive than Webflow for hosting. Like check out WP Engine. You don't even get the design tools that you get with Webflow, but the pricing is way higher. So yeah, I'll just be blunt. You can just don't expect. It's not just because of GDPR. It's mostly not because of GDPR that Webflow will not provide code that you can run on the server, because it's a very, 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 very hard technical and human problem. Similar to how Webflow, as much as we want to, we're not able to import other sites that are not built with Webflow, because they're built in like a million different ways with a million different coding standards with a million different bugs. And it's just like, as much as we would want to pull those sites in to sort of, so you don't have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
It's just not feasible until we have some sort of like artificial intelligence or something. Reason about how coders work. Yeah.
All right. Next question, and I see the same. It seems similar. There's 3 of them, and so I'm just going to answer Sam's. So again, if you want to ask a question, please upvote the one that's similar to yours first before putting one up. Here we go. Where is it? Where are you? Okay. Oh, there it is. So Sam and I think Carlton and someone else had the same question. How about an offline desktop version? Is it possible?
We don't know, because so much of Webflow relies on third parties. So think of something like a YouTube video, right?
Yeah.
A YouTube video has to load for it to even know how it contributes to width and height, for example. Same thing with Google Maps. Same thing with just an image, right? An image could be externally, it comes off of the CDN. All those things have to be localized, and some things can't be localized. Like, for example, a Facebook, share button, right?
Yeah.
In Webflow right now, because everything is online, we just make this assumption that it's like a live kind of like internet environment where you're connected. All these things sort of come for free, where you might have in your header like a Facebook like button, right? Yeah. But if it doesn't load because you're offline, it essentially just collapses your entire, like that thing just doesn't load, right? So your entire navbar shifts, and you're designing around not the real thing. By the time you come back online, all of a sudden you see that all the design changes that you've made have actually broken your layout, because now you have another like 220 pixel kind of like button that loads on the sidebar. So for us, honestly, like we just have had almost no demand for this, like in the active customers that we work with. I think the most common thing is out of kind of all of these is almost like an offline mode, where you can take a take a design offline for a while, like as you're flying on a plane or something like that.
Yeah.
We might experiment with that, but it just, like, we have to replace a lot of the foundations that Webflow is based on. So right now we just say, okay, here's an image link that to load in the canvas that's, you know, stored on Amazon or whatever. But once you go offline, we have to create some sort of like Amazon abstraction locally to where the images, like the app thinks that they're you know, on the internet, but actually loads them from like a local source, not a URL that's on, you know, Amazon's servers. So there's just so much work we have to do for that, that I don't think it sort of like justifies the benefit of kind of like the very, very small minority of our users that are asking for it. So I totally, like, I would love it if we had an offline mode or an offline app. We might end up with like a desktop app that's actually just a wrapper. So it's just more convenient, sort of like what Figma does.
Oh, okay.
Where you can like work on it locally, but it's really you have to connect to the internet. But Webflow, especially because we rely on the canvas and the browser, like the real thing, especially as more and more of these like plugins start to get developed that rely on third-party sources, I think it's going to become even harder to have like a true native WYSIWYG, like what you see is what you get type of abstraction when you're offline, because you're designing for the internet. The internet is like this live thing. I don't know. That's kind of maybe a lame answer, but it's just not a top priority right now.
Totally understand. Here we go. With 2 upvotes, James, is there an update on user accounts with certain content available? I think you've already talked about this. Yeah, it's the user registration and management. So, yeah. So I don't think we have to answer that one. So
similar to
let's see here. We already asked that. When can we buy Webflow merch?
After e-commerce goes live, we're working on a Webflow store. So
that's cool.
Yeah, but if you really want it, just bug the right people. I'm sure there's a way to get it. Yeah. I'll send you mine.
What?
Like this?
Oh, you're gonna send it right now? You're gonna sign it and everything, and
right.
All right. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see here. Mehmet is asking, how much would you estimate the market value of Webflow today? Any plans to merge with other startups, etc.?
I don't know if calculators go that high.
Oh my God.
No, I don't. It's very hard to say. You know, I think a little while ago we announced that we were doing $10 million in revenue per month. So you can sort of do the math by multiplying that number by whatever you want to multiply it by. But it's fair to say that Webflow is going to be around for a long time. It's probably not in the realm where it would make sense as an acquisition for anyone, and which is great for us. Like we don't want let's just say we're not cheap enough to buy anymore. So it's great for us because it's not a distraction. So the only way forward is, I'm not saying the only way forward, but the only way that makes sense for us forward is to just build a long-lasting foundational company that does a lot of good for the world. So so I don't know if there's like, because we're not raising money, there isn't this conversation all the time of like, okay, what are we going to put on TechCrunch of like when Webflow becomes a unicorn or whatever. We just don't have those conversations. So I don't know.
And you said it was. I think you misspoke. I think you misspoke when you said like 10 million a month.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. No, 10 million a year.
Yeah. Okay, just making sure.
Right. It's not a month; it's the year.
Yeah, because Andrew in the chat room put 600,000, or no, 600 million. Like, oh no. All right. Let's see here. About payment in e-commerce Stripe. So, will we have PayPal custom payment? Maybe Scandinavian solutions, possibly to add new payment services. So I'm guessing, yeah, custom
Yeah,
payments.
yeah, we're building it in a way that you can have multiple payment gateways, of which PayPal will be one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know any details around exactly what the staging would be of, when PayPal is available, if it's available on launch, etc. I just know that it's the next big one, after Stripe. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for the question, Jane. All right. Let's see here. What up, Vlad from John Ramos? More of a comment, but web dev for you will be officially ready on Monday. Oh, he's just a comment saying been getting great feedback so far. Webflow
That's
is
called a plug, not a comment. Good job, John.
good job. You got me there. All right. Ooh, this is a good one from Alan. Is it possible to make the colors draggable to change the order in the color palette or swatches to whatever order you like?
Oh, yeah, that should be. I mean, it's like we just keep them as an array. So I don't see why we can't at some point in the future. I'm not going to reprioritize that over e-commerce.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. But I can see it being kind of like a nice little enhancement that we had at some point.
Yeah. Good suggestion. And again, Alan, go to wishlist.webflow.com. Put it there. Get people to upvote it. Let's see here. So from Anthony, do you ever see Webflow being able to support or allow us to visually build logic in web apps, something like Bubble? If so, how long would you predict we have to wait for that? Yeah, you've already been talking about this a little bit in the question of what we're going to be doing in 5 years.
I knew this conversation would bubble up at some point.
Number 6.
Yeah. Webflow will have something like that. That's always been part of the vision from day one. And actually one of those things that we thought we couldn't launch without, like the CMS.
Oh.
And I have some early sketches from before the CMS even took place of like what visual logic on the back end would look like. Yeah, so it's going to happen. I can't say exactly when, or if it's not being worked on already, or anything of that nature. So let's just cover that in a future stream.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go back. So people are saying, why am I not asking the questions that are top voted? Okay, I'm going back up. I wanted to give some people at the bottom some chances too. But okay. Sai already asked a question, but I'll answer his again. Will there be integrations with membership platforms like WooCommerce, Patreon to create pages restricted to members or users? Many of our Crowdcast creators currently have to use WordPress to host their membership sites.
I see. Yeah. So one of the don't quote me on this, even though this will be on video, but one of the main kind of like first order priorities for our user login functionality is this concept of hosted zones, of being able to lock certain parts of the site based on the user. So it wouldn't actually, could be tied to like a e-commerce transaction. Like if you bought a certain course, then you have access to a certain course URL. Otherwise, you're seeing kind of like a 404 page or not allowed page. But I don't know yet like what that's going to look like in integrating with other platforms and like taking other things as hooks, like integrating with Patreon, for example. Like how do you coordinate a Webflow user account that's on your site to like an actual Patreon account, right? Like all the technical details there. I mean, I could try to describe that right now, but I think it would be very patronizing.
Okay. Yeah, take a sip. You earned that one.
Right. Yep, you stepped into that one.
All right. But yeah, it just seems
By the way,
like
this is why we don't get any work done around here. I'm just always doing that. So that's why e-commerce is late. Sorry.
oh man, oh man. Let's go to the next one. We already answered that one, Wilson. Where can I buy a Webflow hoodie? We're coming out with our own e-commerce store after we launch e-commerce. So there's that. Noah asking, when will Webflow support Lightbox video and galleries for CMS? Yeah.
Great question. I can't wait for like CMS enabled Lightbox. And we already have a CMS galleries project scoped, which was blocked on CSS Grid. So Grid is sort of like the big prerequisite for that, because our galleries plugin is going to be incredible. Like you'll be able to do so much with it. And the main consideration that has to go into it is that it has to be like CMS enabled. And also image set, which is something that we're working on for the CMS, is another prerequisite that we were waiting on for Lightbox. Because when you bind a Lightbox right now, you have to like manually give it each asset, whether it's a video or an image. But this will allow you to like link to an asset list from a CMS, and that becomes the data source. And by the way, we want to do the same thing for sliders as well, so that you can actually treat sliders as like like almost as a dynamic list.
Yes.
And drop downs, like you'll be able to say the drop down is a repeating list of whatever X collection, and this is how I want it to appear. So all that is on the horizon, but it's like I mentioned, everything, like to get everything right. It's not just saying, okay, we need to make the Lightbox CMS enabled. You kind of have to start from first principles. Because when we first started Webflow, we didn't really, we were just trying to survive. We were trying to push every feature as quickly as we could. It was, we did it in a very, very hacky ways. Because if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And by the time we realized that we need to like really go and create this very kind of like tight-knit core with a bunch of functionality around it, that is taking some time to get right. But I totally believe that it's the right way to approach it, even though it seems like we're going slower, because that will set us up for success in the next 20, 30 years or whatever. Whereas if we just try to focus on those features that you actually see now, we might actually shoot ourselves in the foot by building too fast in like this kind of hacky way, and then being stuck in sort of like a thing that you can't improve over time. So.
Like I always say, to make something easy to use, it's very hard. To make something hard to use is very easy. So we're taking the hard route so you guys can make beautiful things easier. So we're getting there. Thanks for the question, Noah. Let's go. Michael, we've already answered this one, but I'll answer it for you. When is Webflow Grid coming out? We mentioned that last week during the Grid stream. Early October. So coming very soon. And again, Pablo Stanley is streaming tonight around 5 p.m. Pacific on youtube.com/sketch together. So you can check out him using Grid. All right. Let's see here.
Noah asks about the second part of his question. I don't know what
second part of my question. I will love you long time. Okay, hold on. Let me go back to it. Is it at the bottom? Oh, there it goes. When will Webflow support custom attributes? for CMS items.
Oh, from CMS. That should be relatively straightforward. Is that on the wish list?
I don't know.
I would love to understand the use cases there.
So last night I was streaming, trying to use the tutorial that Anna made for the Mix It Up plugin, and then you would have to put some custom attributes.
I see.
For some items, but
I'm sure we could do that as like almost like we have dynamic embeds where you have those little tokens or whatever.
Oh yeah.
You can just, for name and value, for the value, you would be able to like pull in, do like a purple plus and pull in, whatever kind of like a dynamic value.
Yeah.
That seems like I'm just saying that as the CEO. I'm not one of the engineers anymore.
Yeah.
It seems like a relatively straightforward thing that I will pitch to our 10% crew
Yeah.
and see if anybody wants to take that on as a little side project.
Okay.
If it's as easy as I imagine or as straightforward. So
yeah, Webflow was easy to build. So I mean, yeah.
yeah.
No, go ahead and put that on the wish list. Please get those upvotes, and yeah, we'll talk to the
10-year
engineers.
overnight success, right?
What?
A 10-year long overnight success, right?
Yeah, it takes 10 years to be overnight success. Love that saying. Let's see here. From Andrew. Oh, I already asked a question, but here we go. Andrew, 2 upvotes. Any possibility of saving gradients in the colors palette?
That is a great question. So for our the user components feature that we're working on, which is more of like moving towards design systems, which we hope to demo in December. We're moving towards like a more traditional and kind of like best practice model of like creating components, but then having what are called design tokens. They're things like colors, gradients, etc., that then go in as inputs to components, so that you can pass them in as like properties or props or overrides. And you can even pass them as like, let's say you had a gradient that you had a dynamic color that was like blue, but then you wanted to go to black, and depending on the CMS item, you would want to use a different gradient. Ooh. You would be able to pass in, one of the gradient stops as a one of those tokens as a property, or almost like as a variable to that component or some subgradient. So we are thinking about that of like moving in that direction. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go like full on into that kind of that exact solution, where you'll be able to say, here are sort of like my brand assets, my design tokens, which could even be things like spacing parameters, right? Things like that you pass into typography settings, where you're not just setting them as like a tag-based kind of like all paragraphs or whatever. You're actually passing something like a font size like 1 rem or 1.2 rem or whatever into multiple parts of your design system, but it's controlled in one place. It's like a slider. And I can see the same thing happening with gradients, where you can just save them as a swatch.
Cool. All right. It's 11:03. I forgot to ask. Do you want to run for 30 minutes more, because that's what you did last time, or okay, we're going for it. All right. Yep. Bonus round. Here we go. All right, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom again. All right. When from Nicholas, when in the CMS, when the editor or the designer can manipulate it in mobile devices. Wait.
Oh, when will like you be able to use Webflow in mobile?
I guess he's asking mobile first. Oh, yeah.
Is around like, can you edit CMS items on your phone, etc.
Yeah.
Don't know exactly. It is not one of our like ultra high priorities, but it is a priority. We just have to see like what demand is like. Honestly, when we talk to our customers, they want use cases like e-commerce a lot faster than they want like the ability to edit on an iPad or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but it's probably not coming this quarter, or maybe even next quarter.
How about on the Oculus or the Vive?
Oh, that's coming. That's in a week.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. We're already.
It'll be delivered virtually, so it won't actually be real.
8. Okay. Landon, you guys seem pretty happy and excited. How is the team liking the new office space?
It's pretty awesome, to be honest. Kind of in this, it's still being built out. We have this whole studio, which I don't know if I'm revealing too much, but the education team is going to be working on this like amazing studio set soon-ish.
Yes. And we may get to see the voice behind the educational videos.
Yeah, that's actually me. I just have kind of like a voice modulator.
Oh, wow. Well, then you do have the jokes.
That's right. Where do you think they come from?
All right. Well, thank you, Vlad.
The office is great. It's definitely like most of our team is remote, so It's some people have yet to experience it. And the last time we all hung out together was in Portugal for our retreat. And I would say like that's much better than being in an office. When you all get to go to like, some exotic destination together.
Yeah.
But just last week we had the entire customer success team that lives in the US come out, including you, Nelson. I think you did a little video.
Yep.
And it's just like really energizing to be kind of spending time together and hanging out.
Yep, most definitely. Let's see here. We already answered that one about desktop. Let's see here. No, that's more of a design question. Joe is asking, Adobe Max is 3 weeks away. Will Webflow have any presence there this year? It'd be great to make a connection with the Webflow team.
We will have a opposite of Max presence.
A minimal?
Minimal presence.
9.
I don't know. No, that's like 8.2. That one doesn't even count. Yeah, I don't think we're not going to that one. We're going to be at Clarity Conference in December, which is a design systems related one, and potentially it's Smashing Conf in New York in October, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
But Adobe Max is too busy and too expensive for us, so we choose to invest our dollars elsewhere.
Yep. All right. From Matt, hi Nelson and Vlad, looking for news on the little things. Better ways to work with custom code. Webflow Ecommerce site mentions feature we're testing internally to upload JS, SVG, etc. to Webflow sites. Oh, so on the e-commerce landing page, or we mentioned it, I think on how we built the e-commerce page, was that we uploaded some sort of video file or something to make that intro happen.
Oh yeah, that was Lottie. Lottie
was
made in After Effects, and then it was exported to like a JavaScript runtime thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that coming anytime?
I don't know. I know we don't have it on our immediate roadmap, but it might be one of those things that are developed as a plugin. So we'll have to see.
Okay.
It's relatively straightforward to set up, but you do have to kind of muck around with code, which, I know is kind of like our thing to try to get rid of. So
it's this fine balance that you have to play, like what can we make visual, and then things that just has to go with code. All right. Let's see here. Bradley's asking, with 4 upvotes, any intentions of introducing more pseudo class selectors into Webflow, like before, after, last child? Yeah.
I just saw designs for those.
Ooh.
And they look pretty awesome because we have a new style tab iteration coming. Surprise, surprise. That's amazing. I think it's almost done. But it's like really modernizes the interface and gets us ready for things that I mentioned, like user components, the ability to kind of like use these design tokens, a CSS grid, etc. It's sort of because the last time Webflow's UI changed was like 4.5 years ago, when the subset of CSS that was possible was much smaller.
Yeah.
So. Wait, what was the original question?
So can we do pseudo classes like before, after, last child?
So that I think the more updated design is more kind of conducive to something like that. But I don't know when we're going to prioritize it. It just hasn't been kind of a big thing.
Yeah, like I know at least for me, I would have to, if it's a static image or element, I would have to go to the last child and actually set a combo class. But if it's in a collection list, I would have to use custom CSS code and just point out, hey, last din item.
I know for sure that we will have that at some point. Like it's just a must-have. It's just a matter of priority.
Yep. Oh man, it's getting bright enough in here. Hold on.
But Nelson, you've lightened up my day.
Oh, we're at 10. I'm glad I can do that for you.
And I'm glad I can be here to enjoy it.
11. All right. We'll go with Alex. With so many features in development, user management, e-commerce, grid, etc., how does the team ensure that the web app keeps performing optimally since as it hogs away on RAM? So optimization.
Right. So we formed a whole performance team, which is now 3 people, to focus solely on performance. They've been working a lot on the new style tab because that makes Webflow faster because it replaces the old one. But after they're done with that, they're moving like 100% on performance optimizations. And yes, like since browsers are inherently single-threaded, everything has to happen kind of like in this one thing, which is we're essentially delivering Photoshop in the browser. It wasn't really kind of created. Browsers are created to read news and research articles, not kind of build software that builds software. But we are taking it seriously. Like there's an entire team dedicated to performance, and that team will probably be growing.
Nice.
And getting faster.
Yes, the team is getting faster, or both.
Well, whatever. No.
Okay.
They work faster than everyone else on the team, which makes sense.
Well, yeah, they have to.
They're good performers.
Everyone. He would really inch his way into that final dad joke right there.
Yeah.
He was searching for it, and he got it. I am so proud of you. Right. Let's see here. From YouTube, Jay is asking, I see you've partnered with Stripe. Any chance we'll have alternate payment gateways in the future?
Yes. PayPal, etc.
Yeah. So. I guess, but that's just for e-commerce. Because I've heard from the sport tickets a lot, and it's like, I want to sign up for Webflow.
Pay for Webflow with PayPal. Yeah. That's been brought up here and there over the years. It hasn't been like a big, huge sort of kind of overwhelming demand for it. But it's just so much stuff is built on top of Stripe that it's really difficult to kind of rebuild, because you have to build essentially 2 different integrations for everything. Like you want a refund. We need a different refund process. It means that our customer success team has to work in double the amount of tools. The way that subscriptions are handled by PayPal are not as flexible because Webflow subscriptions get really complicated, especially with things like client billing, where we have to basically orchestrate somebody else's Stripe account and then never take revenue on their behalf, because that would be like a tax hit to us. And Stripe allows for revenue to flow like both ways, and then have each sort of entity deal with tax issues. PayPal doesn't have any of that. You have to build it from scratch. And that's sort of an unfortunate thing. Like PayPal is so, it's a lot more universal, I'd say, but Stripe is definitely catching up. But for us as a relatively new company, we have to pick our battles. We have to see where we can deliver the most value. And usually it's as much as it sucks to hear this, it's easier for people to get a credit card that's like a secured card, that's more like a debit card against a PayPal account or whatever, than it is for us to spend 2 years rebuilding our billing platform.
That makes sense.
Those 2 years we could spend building e-commerce or multi-language or grid or Mars rover software for pulling up websites on refrigerators. I don't know. These are all things we're working on. We have to pick our battles, and I don't think PayPal support for our subscriptions are coming anytime soon, unfortunately.
Totally understand. That's understandable.
But we will take bags of cash. So you just have to pay for a couple of years ahead of time.
Okay. Right. All right, someone's going to come out the door and be like, ring the doorbell. Hey, I want to pay for my subscription. It's just a bag of cash. Not shifty at all. All right. I think we've answered that one, Cohen. I think it's the same thing. Stripe uses Ideal in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And is Webflow adding this option? So I'm guessing that's the same answer?
I don't understand the question. Where can I see it?
Is Web Cohen is asking, is Webflow adding an option to use ideal?
What is, how do you spell that?
Uh,
Oh, ideal.
yeah.
I have no idea what that is. Sounds like a good deal though.
I opened the door for that one.
Yeah.
I lost count. I lost count now. I don't know if it's 12 or 13. All right. Let's see here. We already answered that one. Spencer. Oh, Spencer from Designer News. What's up? He's asking, any plans to redesign the designer interface, light mode? Oh, because everyone's going to dark mode, so let's just,
So that's one of the reasons we're looking into kind of modernizing the style tab is to make it make all those components themable. I don't know yet when we'll have anything close to a light mode, but at least we're moving sort of our code architecture to be a lot closer to something that allows for that.
Cool. Did not know that.
But one thing you can try is they have this screen app that you can just change the contrast. You can invert your actual screen.
Okay.
But then your design is inverted too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That makes
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for being here, Spencer. All right. Let's see here. Here we go, Brandon. Brandon's a longtime community member. He's asking, will you guys eventually create your own conference, something like Inbound that HubSpot puts on every November, or even WordCamp that WordPress helps promote and host?
Let's just say a couple days ago, I didn't not register the domain webflowlive.com. I did not do that. So I don't know if that answers your question. At some point, yeah, we will.
I mean, we already have Webflow roadshows, and thank you to community manager Anais for organizing that. And there was 96 people showed up, and it was our first ever official.
She did an Anais job. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I like that one.
Okay.
I've never heard of that one before, so I like it. Yeah. So
genius comes at you from nowhere. You just gotta go. You just
go for it. So yeah, we're gonna have another.
That's the first time I've ever experienced genius, by the way.
What do you mean? Nice. Oh, okay. Never. Your own genius. Got it.
Right, exactly.
Anais did one in our first roadshow in Berlin. I think it was last week, and so in October 6th, I believe, is the second one in San Francisco. And the next one after that, we're looking to do these events more often. So we're looking into a third, not sure where though, but we're just going to keep going. And if you guys want to start your own Webflow meetup, please do so. Go and sign up for a meetup account and start growing your community. I would love to help. Anais and I would love to help you get that kickstarted. We'll come up with ideas. Probably send your attendees some swag, like whatever we can do to help kickstart that, because now more and more fans are popping up in different areas of the world, and we want to help. So yeah, just go on the forums and.
Wait, so is the world cooling down now? There's more fans.
Yes, Webflow fans are helping with climate change and global warming and all the things. Okay.
We're laughing, but it's not funny.
What?
We're laughing, but it's not funny.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Okay.
Somebody said I'm high on something.
Yeah, you must be high on paint.
Very, very observant. Maybe they haven't been to these shows before.
All right. 10 more minutes. Let's get the last, last three questions. Here we go. From Matthew. Okay, this is a good question. Very important question. Which coffee roaster do you get your beans from for the office espresso machine? And who?
Good question. I just opened one of those this morning, and it looked like super artisanal or something. Yeah, I need to check because it tastes good.
And who makes the best cuppa?
The machine. So that's a, I guess, trick question or trick answer.
All right. Um, let's see here. Two more. Let's see here. No. I mean, I get.
What does that power feel like where you get to choose which questions are
I mean,
asked?
you're in the chat room too. You can, if you want to, tell me which one you want to answer.
I'm not sure how you're like
I'm
choosing.
so I'm going to the top, and I'm like, okay, there's some that we can answer. There's some that we've already answered, and so like, when will you ship multi-language? I mean, we've already answered that.
Yeah. When are we opening up a UK presence? Maybe this year.
Wait, what? That's news to me. What? A UK headquarters? No.
We're trying to finish it. I'll take that as a hint.
I get it. All right. That one's from Magic Mark.
Any chance to see Fastly with SSL? Fastly works impressive. Unfortunately, with SSL, we're using AWS. I believe Fastly just added something that's like cross-region SSL support. I need to ask our team, so that's a good one to follow up on.
Okay, thank you.
I'll ask our infrastructure team. I know there's been some like improvements there. We just rolled out multi-region SSL that we haven't announced yet. But we will when we have multiple regions. So right now before we only had Virginia, now we have Virginia and Europe, where if you're closer to that point of presence, your load time for SSL is much faster because you don't have to like deal with the speed of light or whatever. Yeah. So we're going to be adding a couple more, like as we roll that infrastructure out and we gain more confidence in it, it'll just automatically work. So
okay. All right. Yeah. Let's see here.
Let's see.
I don't.
When do you plan on providing add remove classes feature and interaction to? I have to check. When I know that was like on the original roadmap.
Yeah.
Will you ship multi-language before e-commerce? No. So there would be some parts of multi-language that will be shipped after like shortly-ish after e-commerce, but not the whole thing. So it's gonna be a little while.
Okay, cool. We're just flying through these.
Yeah. How much more complex was e-commerce than you expected? 17,000. That's very hard with e-commerce. Like when things come up that seem easy, like styling the credit card field.
Yeah.
Just explode in complexity. Because of whatever reason, because you have to integrate with third parties and
totally understand.
What's the current status from Peter? Yeah, like I mentioned, we're already rolling out to alpha users. We're hoping to start beta soon. So, do you foresee a future where Webflow is so direct manipulation friendly that we don't need traditional free canvas tools like Sketch, Figma, etc.? That is a very interesting question. I think because of the medium of software, or like you just think of web design, you have to think in a different way. You're not just drawing a box. You have to think of like constraints. You have to think of a box within a box within a box. So you're thinking of margin and padding. Yeah. So yes, as Webflow moves closer to kind of like grid-like manipulation tools, it will become more like those screen design tools, but the thought process still has to be completely different. You have to think of the actual medium that you're designing for. Just like in 3D animation software, you would have to think of a scene and objects and like cameras and lights, and it's a whole different dimension. Yeah. Right? And screen design tools don't even support stuff like hovering over a button to change the color, right? Yeah. Or you have to describe those things, or you have to like add these sort of like interactions to make that happen. So yes, like the tooling will sort of converge where you'll be able to do more production ready stuff with things like Figma and Framer, etc. And then Webflow will get closer to becoming more like a kind of tactile direct manipulation tool. And who knows what that's going to end up looking like. So
and grid is I guess the first step to that. and that's
Yep.
gonna be awesome. Let's see here. Is there an ETA for a feature to categorize assets? And I think we already touched on this.
So yeah, we talked about that. We don't know exactly. There's no ETA.
Yeah.
We have designs for it, but there's no ETA.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna get one more question, and I'll let you answer it, John. Or I was reading some guy's name, John. I'll let you answer it, Vlad, and you choose the last question for this quarter.
All right. It's got to be in the form of a dad joke.
Oh.
The stakes are high. Just like in a restaurant that's on the top floor of a skyscraper that serves only steaks. The stakes are high. That was a stretch.
I was rooting for you there.
Hold on, I'm looking at these questions.
That joke was not well done.
Oh, Nelson! Wow, that's mad respect.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah.
I can do it too. I'm a dad.
You've been cooking that one up for a while.
Oh God. Okay. Again, I lost track. Chat, please help me. How many jokes?
That one was seriously good. Seriously. Where's Mariah when we need her?
I know.
How's the Latin American market? Is adding grids within grids like Gridception? So adding grids within grids considered bad practice. Yes and no. So there's something called subgrid, which so imagine you have like a grid that's 4x4, and then you want a grid that's inside one of those items that sort of like sticks to the outside grid. Right now, that's not possible with CSS Grid, not just in Webflow, but across browsers.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you can have a grid inside of another grid, just like you can have a flex container inside of a flex item, it won't actually follow, like each one is totally independent.
Yeah.
So if you change like the grid gutter of the outer one, the grid inside will stay the same.
Yeah.
But after subgrid comes out, of course, Webflow will support that. That'll be a much more flexible way to nest grids, but it sort of depends on your layout. If you have, it kind of depends on each designer and kind of like the thing that they're creating to determine whether it's bloated or not, right?
Yeah.
It might be that, for like Mega Man or whatever,
the
best thing to do is upload an SVG and not necessarily rebuild it with grid, but like we all want to push the medium to
like I'm actually trying to do a scrolling interaction for Tetris, and so I'm putting grid inside a grid.
Nice.
So
you're really stacking them on there, huh?
Yes, I like I don't really know. I really don't know when these jokes are coming, and so when they do, I'm like, oh geez. All right, so Gridception is the last question. If you didn't get your question answered, no worries. Please post your question on the forums, forum.webflow.com, or hit us up on Twitter at Webflow.
Well, don't hit us.
Yeah. Okay. Send us a tweet via mentioning us on Twitter.
That works.
Yeah.
Thanks for being explicit.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vlad, for again taking the time each quarter to answer questions directly from the community. How do you feel going into fall?
I think I need more sweaters.
Yep.
It's
getting colder. I don't know. Yeah. Good try.
Fall is going to be interesting. I mean, we have a lot of stuff to build, but it's also, holidays and we have a lot that's on the horizon that we want to ship all this year. So it's going to be pretty big rush to finish it. So we're going to be rushing to finish it.
Because you're Russian. Got it. All right. Well, we'll see you and more dad jokes next quarter. We'll have like an end of the year special or something like that. So that'll be fun to see you again.
Speaking of dads, check out my kids.
Oh,
Aren't they cute? Sorry, just have to brag.
of course, of course.
So
Nothing
I
wrong with that.
legitimately can make these jokes.
Yes.
They can flop, and then I can just say, I'm
Yeah.
a dad.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you so much, Vlad. And yeah, let's just do a regular outros. So let me do.
Is this where I start the dance?
If you want to dance.
Dance.
Oh wait. Okay, I'll just leave it here. So if you have any account billing or technical questions, please send all those to Vlad directly. Just Vlad. No, just kidding. Go to university.webflow.com/contact, and I and the rest of the customer success team will help you out as fast as we can. If you have any design or custom code questions, please join the community at forum.webflow.com, and someone will answer your question there. Also, if you get your question answered, please answer someone else's question so we can all grow together. Our social media is Webflow app on Instagram.
No.
On Instagram.
Oh,
yeah. We finally moved.
Working on it.
Nice. We finally moved to Webflow on Twitter, so follow us there. We're also on Webflow, facebook.com/Webflow. What else? This stream happens every other Tuesday.
MySpace. You forgot the MySpace one.
Don't forget MySpace, Friendster, and Face Friend. I don't know.
No, those are the big ones. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. ICQ, AIM. Oh, rest in peace. So, this stream happens every other Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. You can follow us on youtube.com/webflow and just hit that notification bell so you'll know when we go live. Thank you, everyone, so much for your questions. Vlad will be here at the end of next quarter. Thanks again, Vlad. You've been awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate all the questions. And I'm really, I keep saying this every time, but I'm just blown away by the strength of this community, just the energy that's here, how excited people get, not just about our product, but just about empowering others, helping others succeed, seeing this community grow. It's honestly the thing that keeps us going. There's only so much, love and care and effort you can put into crafting pixels or making sure like the product does what it says. But the thing that really inspires us, the thing that powers our mission, is the fact that we can deliver something that like fundamentally can change people's lives and empower them to make a living, and go into a new career or change careers, and provide for their families and whatever it might be. And one of the big reasons that people are able to actually do that is because they feel so supported and so loved by this community. And I just want to thank everyone that's involved there for doing everything that you do. And most of the time it's so sacrificial. Like people don't get paid to be on our forum, and yet you see people answering thousands of questions, which boggles my mind. And I'm really appreciative of that. Everyone on our team is really appreciative of that. We wouldn't be where we are without you. And this community is really what makes Webflow great. And it's only going to get bigger, and it's only going to get more awesome. So let's keep this awesome feeling going, so that it doesn't turn into something that's just like a corporate, I don't know, like corporate strategy being executed with people being kind of like cogs in the machine. I think we started a pretty awesome movement. And like I said, we're so early in the days of the internet, and where Webflow could go, that it's only up from here. So thanks for joining the journey. I think the best is still ahead of us. So I really appreciate all the time that you put in to help others and just be part of it.
Well said. All right. Thank you. And we're out. Bye.